So let's go around Major League Baseball from the biggest picture perspective we can have nearing the end of August. There's just over a month left of this regular season. As we detailed yesterday, every club around the bigs has less than 40 games remaining in the long marathon that is 162 of a regular season in MLB. And one of the narratives starting to emerge, a tight race at the top in terms of either league for the best record, for playoff positioning, and of course those races around MLB. As we look at the World Series odds, it's still a very similar story. The Dodgers a favorite, plus 350. The Phillies back by less than $1.50 at plus 480. The Yankees plus 550. The O's plus 750. And the Astros now a 9-1 number. Donnie, really the big change over the last 2-3 weeks in terms of those World Series prices, it's the Astros moving up to that fifth best price, less than 10-1, but still a peg behind the big four in favor of the Braves. Atlanta falls back to that 16-1 number.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, too, because sometimes we get this as handicappers, Ben, and it's a blind spot. Because factoring on the Houston Astros as being a bad baseball club before the All-Star break, now being a very good baseball club is sort of hindering because the 1-9 is decent. The starting pitching for Andrew Valdez has been very good, but outside of that, a little bit questionable. And Verlander's set to come back on the bump shortly here, which might give them a little bit of boost if he can get back to being the Verlander of at least the past couple years. But I still see that price point at a 9-1 and say, hey, look at that, top five in baseball. It just doesn't feel like that because I'm so locked in on the Dodgers, Phillies, Yankees, and Orioles being head and shoulders for me above the rest of Major League Baseball. And with me already writing off the Houston Astros, and they're playing good baseball, it's hard to give them credit back and say, okay, I didn't think they would make the playoffs. Now I'm going to actually think they're going to be a World Series contender without changing much. It wasn't like they went out on the trademark like, hey, you know what? They fortified 3 All-Stars in that lineup. The players are just starting to play a little bit better, but I still think they're short overall on talent. So I agree that the Astros have to be moved up because they're playing good baseball. They're going to win the division. They're going to make the playoffs, which means they're going to have home field advantage at least in the first round of the playoffs. That does mean something here. But still, when I look at the other teams in baseball, it's like, you know what? Maybe I missed out on the price point that you could have got the Astros, but Ben, I don't think I was ever looking at the price point to say, oh man, I had my finger on the trigger at 26-1. I never did because I didn't expect them to be in this position right now.
Yeah, it's a really good point, DRS, and there still is a chance, a remote chance, but a chance. Houston 4.5 games back behind the Yankees for what would be the best record at this moment in the American League. That's how close the gap has become around baseball at this moment. Because we're not having a team run away with 100, 105, 110 wins as maybe we expected at certain points from the Phillies or the Dodgers or the Yankees off to a great start through the middle of June. Now, I still think the Yanks or perhaps the team that wins the American League East division is still going to be that number one seed in the American League. But it's not like, okay, Houston scraped by 5 games above 500 to win a bad American League West by a game over the Mariners. The Astros are propelling themselves now 12 games above 500 with that 5-game lead. The Yankees, O's, and Stros all separated by less than $2 for that best price in the American League pennant. The Yanks, the favorites at plus 230. Baltimore at a plus 340 price, and Houston at plus 410. The American League Central, more than likely, will have 3 of its 5 teams occupy 3 playoff spots. The Guardians, a 2.5 game lead right now over Minnesota for the top spot in the American League Central. But the Twins and the Royals pretty comfortably in those American League wildcard spots. We've got your thoughts on the American League Central, though, DRS, throughout this year. Let's go to the National League West. The Dodgers still maintain 3-game lead atop the division. LA has won the NL West 10 of the last 11 years, very much on pace to win it for an 11th time in the last 12 seasons. But they are being pushed by the Padres and the Diamondbacks. In San Diego and Arizona, very comfortable atop the National League wild card standings. So you see the prices. 18-1 to win the World Series for the Padres. 20-1, 10th best number to round out this list for the Diamondbacks. Is it worth investing in this moment for the 2 hottest teams since the All-Star break?
I think it is. If you remove the top four teams again, Dodgers, Phillies, Yankees, Orioles, and you take a look at the Astros and the Guardians, the next two teams, I wipe them off there along with the Braves at 16-1. The teams that I'm most interested in probably would be the Twins at 16-1, followed by the Padres and the Diamondbacks. Like taking a flyer on either the D-backs or the Padres just to stay hot and make the playoffs here, they're going to be a problem, and they're priced appropriately. And also, happens if they can actually pass up the Dodgers here and take that number one seed. You'd be getting a bargain right now. Let's see how they continue. But the Padres and Diamondbacks, I'm in it in the NL. It's going to be fun to watch.
I think it's a time to truly buy in, and it is legitimate. Hour 2 starts next. You're on the early line. It's a Tuesday around Major League Baseball, a full Tuesday card where some midweek series begin today. And they are very, very important. We will look forward to the rest of this week and look back on the Monday slate with our MLB insider and the host of Newswire starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time. That is Craig Mish. Craig, as always, thanks for being here on this Tuesday morning.
Of course. It is great to be here and great talking baseball as, we get ready to close out August and move into the final month of the season.
That's exactly our charge here, Craig. There is not many more times we can go all around. Less than 40 games remain for all 30 MLB clubs around the big. So on this Tuesday, we do touch them all. It's time for Daily Bases. Craig, the Houston Astros are surging at the most significant time of the year. The Astros have won 11 of their last 12 games, walking it off last night in their midweek series opener against the Boston Red Sox at home. Yusei Kikuchi got the start. He did not get the win, but the Astros have won all 4 of the starts Kikuchi has now made for the Stros. They have a 5-game lead in the American League West. Craig, what has worked so well for Houston in the second half of this MLB campaign?
Look, they're playing much better offensively. When you look at some of the numbers on the Astros, you look at it and you wonder, hey, why is Altuve's OPS down? Some of the other players. I mean, this is a league-wide thing. So I don't think you can necessarily look at every player in baseball and judge them based on past numbers. It just looks like offensively, most numbers are down. And so therefore, Houston's numbers are down. And even though they're not scoring a ton of runs, they're still getting, as you said, pitching performances. I think there's a couple of things in play here. And if you want to focus on Kikuchi, I think he is rock solid and going to pitch game 2 or game 3 for any series the Astros play in the postseason. And honestly, I have to think that trade that they made, the Blue Jays have to sort of be looking at this and saying, what has Houston figured out that we could not? It feels like they're letting Kikuchi get into the 6th inning in every game and pulling the plug on him before things get dangerous. And his numbers have been fantastic with them all throughout August. 5 1/3, 5 2/3, 11 strikeouts, 7 strikeout, 1 strikeout. So good job by the Astros in their advanced scouting and, certainly their major league scouting to determine that he was going to be the one that was going to help them. And guys, he has been a huge help to that rotation.
Yeah, we'll see it creeping back up there as maybe one of the favorites in the American League, which is kind of crazy just a few months ago to think about that. But, Craig, injuries can be contagious, and it feels like that's what's taking place here with the Atlanta Braves. Austin Riley, 6 to 8 weeks out with a fractured right hand, got hit with a pitch. It just keeps mounting up here for the Braves.
It does. It does. And if they make the postseason, you're talking about, the most decimated team entering with very little odds to go far. They say that Riley will be back, but guys, let's just, keep it real here. In all likelihood, this ain't going to be for the first round of the playoffs. So they would be without Acuna, without Riley. They've missed Albies for a period of time. Of course, they don't have Spencer Strider, and yet they're still right there for the postseason. And then we saw the report this morning that they're looking into signing Giovanni Urshela, who was placed on waivers. So the Braves are not quitting. I mean, they are still going to push forward and try to make the most out of this. I don't know if they'll get there, but what a story it would be. It almost goes from a team of disappointment in April and May to now a team that maybe some fans will be rooting for to get in because of the adversity.
Craig, a team in April before the year got underway, perhaps in late March, that was expected to contend for a National League pennant once again with the Dodgers, a team in the Braves that had won the National League East for 6 consecutive years, and a team that, despite the injuries that started to stack up to their key significant players, was still seen by the odds makers as a shoo-in to the National League postseason. That is not necessarily the case as of this moment. Atlanta holding on to a 1.5 lead over the Mets for the third and final National League wild card spot. The Braves more than likely not catching the Phillies, down by 7 games atop the National League East, but it's still an incredibly important divisional rivalry that starts this week in Atlanta. A great pitching matchup in game number 1. It's Wheeler versus Lopez. Zach Wheeler versus Reynaldo Lopez on the other side for Atlanta. As we compare these two teams, as of this moment, Craig, the Phils minus 1,600 to win the National League East. Again, that would snap a 6-year streak for the Braves atop this division. How much significance do you put into this midweek set in the ATL?
Well, look, they're taking it very seriously. You mentioned the matchup tonight. I mean, you have Max Fried and Aaron Nola tomorrow, Ben. So, I mean, this is going to be 3 games of really good matchups here. As far as like picking a winner or an outcome, it's middle of August. It's really difficult to do. You're going to see minus 120s or minus 130s. That means it's a competitive series. You look around the rest of the league in baseball, you're seeing minus 200s, 250s, etc. So I just think it'll be a fun series. Look, I'm curious. Reynaldo Lopez has been banged up a little bit. He is back now pitching for the Braves. So, for the Braves, they're hoping, of course, that he can be a major factor in any postseason run for them. But I don't know that this is necessarily going to be another preview of a series that we're going to see because we've seen it in the National League now a couple of times. But really enjoyable to see 2 teams fighting so hard at this stage of the year.
Same thing in the American League today, Craig. We get underway in the Bronx. That's the Cleveland Guardians and the New York Yankees. Boyd and Heel on the mound today. Favorite minus 148 live at the FanDuel Sportsbook. But also 2 teams looking to stay in first place and getting pressure from either the second place team, like the Baltimore Orioles going up against the Yankees, or a plethora of teams, it feels like now, in the Central Division. How are we looking at this series for the Guardians and the Yankees?
Yeah, look, I think the Guardians do match up well against New York and, very intelligent front office and pitching staff. You're going to see a lot of pitching around some of these guys, I would imagine, this week. Jose Ramirez, always a factor. I would play him to hit a home run or 2 in this series. He always steps up in the biggest moments for them. But I think the real story is, for me, is sitting here on all of these shows on SportsGrid and being asked about the Yankees, their demise, they're not going, and they have the best record in the American League. I mean, these Yankees fans, they will never be satisfied with anything. I mean, they had a tough run, like I told you guys earlier in the season, but in the end, they're going to make it. They're going to win their 90-something games, and they're right at the top with everybody else. So as long as they can figure out how to get outs in the 9th inning, which I think is going to have to change for them, Donnie, I don't think that they're going to use Clay Holmes in the postseason in the 9th. But for now, they'll roll it until it gets real serious, and then they're going to have to mix and match for the time being. Another good series, though, this week.
Craig, bonus question. We're going to have 5 questions here in the last 20 seconds. Will we see a 100-win team in MLB this year?
Ooh. No.
I don't think so either. It's not on pace at this moment. Craig Mish always delivers, even if we go back to first on the daily basis. Craig, we'll see you on Newswire at 11 a.m. More on the early line up next. 15 games on this Tuesday around Major League Baseball. That is the schedule. It is a full slate, and a couple really good midweek series start on this Tuesday evening. We first go to the Bronx, the 2 top teams in the American League. It's the Yankees and the Guardians. New York, 73-52. Half-game advantage over Cleveland, 72-52 is the mark for the Guardians. Also a half-game advantage for the Yankees in the American League East. In front of Baltimore, the O's, 73-53. Very compact at the top. What an opportunity it is inside Yankee Stadium for our guy, Luis. Don't call him Heel. And the Yanks, a minus 154 home money line favorite today against Cleveland. Over-under is 8.5. The title of the game and perhaps the series, ALCS preview. Who rises to the occasion tonight in New York?
I think we might be looking at an under, too, Ben, 8.5. Now, granted, wind is blowing out to right field about 8 miles per hour, but so many times during the summer in the Bronx, it's like, okay, what is it, 85, 90, 95 degrees at first pitch? If you woke up on the East Coast today, particularly the Northeast, boy, you got that vibe of fall is coming. 68 degrees at first pitch, which means that temperature is probably going to dip into the lower 60s. Maybe the ball doesn't travel as far. Now, Matthew Boyd is on the mound here today for the Cleveland Guardians. You might remember him most likely from the Detroit Tigers. Wasn't a great pitcher. Only 19 batters that he's faced so far this season and has handled them well. but it's certainly different once you're going to get that expanded format. You're going to take on the Yankees in the Bronx in Hitters Ballpark. I expect him to get touched up a bit. But Luis Gil on the opposite side, against right-handed batters, Ben, last 30 days, he's been sensational, quite frankly, on the season. He's faced 271 right-handed batters, a 108 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 250. Why is that important? Usually, you're going to go up against much more left-handed batters if they have the ability to do so. Now, Gil, as I said, probably should be good against righties, yes. But lefties, take a look at this. Kwan, Brennan, Ramirez, Naylor, Jimenez, Shearman, Naylor, and Rocchio. What does that do? Simple math here, Ben. One right-handed batter in the lineup. So if I'm looking at this game, it's hard to say Boyd is going to go in there and dominate the Yankees. I understand. But at the same time, if a pitcher does struggle with left-handed bats, and you're going to get 8 of those tonight in the Bronx with the wind blowing out to right field, maybe you're taking a shot here on the Guardians today. But it's tough. Boyd's your pitcher. If it was somebody else, like, you know what, a little bit more confidence. Yeah. But I got to tell you, if maybe an underdog price comes into it, maybe it is the Guardians tonight.
8.5 is that total. The Yankees just 8-7 here in the month of August. They lost the final 2 games, including in Williamsport at the Little League Classic against the Tigers this weekend. What is so fascinating about the Guardians, what a streaky team that still holds a 2.5-game lead atop the American League Central. Really been that way for Cleveland since the end of July. A 5-game win streak to end out July into early August. Then a 7-game losing skid. Then a 5-game win streak. And then the Guardians took that 5-game win streak to Milwaukee and got swept by the Brewers this weekend. They continue the road trip in the Bronx against the Yankees. Donnie, it's always fascinating, right? Because as we near October, it seems as though the sets take on an added layer of significance, especially when they are between 2 very good teams battling for that number 1 overall seed in the American League. Do you put any extra weight into this series in the Bronx this week?
No, not necessarily. It's too early for that. And granted, when you say, well, over a Major League Baseball season, is it technically getting late? Yes, it is. But you still have roughly, let's just say, a month and a half left to go. Each and every game matters. Now, granted, you get under the microscope, right, under those final 2 weeks of the season, where now you're really starting to look at some of those magic numbers in order to clinch your actual division and or just a wild card spot at that point. They understand, the players themselves, Ben, the magnitude of the series and what it possibly means, as maybe it's on a collision course where you win this series, you might be in the driver's seat now to actually be the number 1 seed in the AL. We understand that. But from a day-to-day basis, baseball players can't look like that. There's way too many games in front of them to say, woo, look at that. We won this series. Then you lose your next 3 games. You gave up all the ground in that series, as opposed to if it was the final series in September. So big series nonetheless. Do or die scenario for either one of these teams? Not necessarily.
A marquee matchup in the American League, a marquee matchup within the NL and the National League East starts tonight in Atlanta. Reynaldo Lopez makes his return for the Braves. Last pitched on July 28th, 3 innings of shutout work. That's been a similar story for Lopez, but left the start early with right forearm tightness. He is now back after nearly a month off. He did lose his last 2 complete starts, not complete games, but full starts that he made for Atlanta. When he left, and as of this moment, I guess you could say, he has a 2.06 ERA. He's probably not going to hit the innings minimum this year, but that number would be the best ERA in all of MLB. He gets the start, but with the Braves as a home underdog against Zach Wheeler and Philadelphia. Minus 134 is that number tonight between the Phils and the Braves, a divisional rivalry. What do you like for the opener in the ATL?
Yeah, the Phillies will be a very popular public favorite tonight, and rightfully so. Zach Wheeler on the mound, one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball on the road. Now, granted, you're looking at a Phillies team that hasn't played all that great at baseball, and that's why that number is not minus 150 or higher. You could say Reynaldo Lopez, one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, but what are we actually getting out of Reynaldo Lopez in the start, roughly off for about a month in Major League Baseball? Very hard just to pick up exactly where you left off, which he was one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball. The one saving grace for the Atlanta Braves is, as I said, the Phillies have been playing great baseball, which includes their bats, but they also gave a couple guys some extended days off. Bryce Harper didn't play Sunday, had the day off Monday, now coming back Tuesday. Same thing with JT Realmuto. Maybe tonight is the night they get it going. And also, if we're looking at the better pitcher on the mound tonight, Ben, it's the Philadelphia Phillies' Zach Wheeler. He's been fantastic all season long. Are we taking a question mark on what we're getting out of Lopez? That's advantage Philadelphia Phillies. You just saw Austin Riley down for 6 to 8 weeks, which basically covers the entirety of the regular season. They hope to get him back if they make the postseason in those early rounds. They just don't have enough firepower tonight. If Zach Wheeler is just average Zach Wheeler, what does that mean for Atlanta? 2 or 3 runs? The Phillies should be able to win this ball game here. It's a cheap price because how well the Phillies, or should I say how well the Phillies have not been playing as opposed to playing well. I'm still going to take the Phils and Wheeler tonight, though.
The Phils 8-8 in August. They had a chance for a 4-game weekend sweep over the Washington Nationals. As Donnie mentioned, they rested a couple of guys. They lost that series finale, but they had won 4 straight entering Sunday's game against the Nats. This is a huge one, not necessarily a divisional battle as we might have expected at this stage in late August between these two teams, but still a very important series. Philadelphia, 7-game lead for the top spot in the National League East. As you see there, a minus 1,600 favorite to win the divisional crown. It would be the first time in the last 7 MLB seasons a team not named Atlanta, who has won 6 straight NL East titles, has won this division. But the Braves still a playoff team as of this very moment, but it's getting difficult. 1.5-game lead only for Atlanta over the Mets for that 3rd and final NL wildcard spot. And the bad news for the Braves yesterday, Austin Riley is out with a fractured right hand for the next 6 to 8 weeks. For a team that has been struggling offensively, for a team that does not have many stars left in the lineup, to lose Austin Riley is tough. Although Chris Sale and Zach Wheeler will not face off this week, DRS, it is important for the Cy Young perspective. Again, another opportunity for Wheeler to claw his way back into this race. His last start in July gave up 7 earned against the Yankees. It really made his price a much longer number. But in August, he has given up only 3 earned runs in 3 starts. He has won 2 of the 3. He is 12-5 with a 2.72 ERA. Right now, it is Chris Sale at a minus 300 number to win the National League Cy Young Award. Wheeler at plus 400. This start could go a long way if there is any hope for Wheeler to contend for that Cy Young Award.
And also a long way for the Atlanta Braves. If the Braves lose this series, you're probably putting a wrap on the NL East. If the Braves can win the series, then there's still hope that the Phillies aren't playing well, and we can maybe make back that 5 to 6 games, and away you go there. So a lot riding on the line, which includes awards and also maybe putting this division to bed. As I said, I expect the Philadelphia Phillies to win tonight. Better lineup, better pitcher, even though it's on the road. The Phillies should rebound with the victory tonight for me.
And these two teams will face off once again, a 4-game set that starts in Philadelphia next Thursday. The Braves have won 4 of 6 in the season set so far. More games on this Tuesday in MLB next. Will the Astros keep it rolling today in Houston against the Boston Red Sox? Houston has won 11 of its last 12 games. The Astros have opened up now a 5-game lead for that top spot in the American League West. And the Red Sox need to rally. They're 4.5 games back of the Royals for the 3rd and final American League wild card spot. The Astros walking it off yesterday, courtesy of Yainer Diaz, a walk-off solo shot and that home run. Houston was a favorite yesterday. They win with Yusei Kikuchi on the bump. They're a home favorite once again today with Ronel Blanco. Minus 126, that updated number on the FanDuel Sportsbook. The over-under stands at 8.5. It's game 2 in H-Town. What's the play?
It's times like this that make it tough to handicap. You see that Houston Astros lineup against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days? It's been fantastic. Bregman, Alvarez, Diaz, Pena, Singleton, Caratini, all with elevated weighted on-base percentage numbers. You take a look at Nick Pivetta. Over the past 30 days, he's faced 83 batters. Look at his ISO against, a 346, which is astronomically high. A weighted on-base percentage of 389, and quite frankly, lefty and righty batters are tattooing him. But what happens if I told you today, Ben, over the past 60 days in this Major League Baseball season, just looking at xFIP numbers, there are 24 pitchers on the card today, minimum of 20 innings pitched over the past 60 days. How about this? The best pitcher on the card? It's Nick Pivetta. So make it make sense at this point. A guy with a 5.17 ERA over the past 60 days, getting hammered left and right. We're trying to tell you that he's just getting unlucky at this time. Let's take a look at the Boston Red Sox on the opposite side going against Ronel Blanco. You know what Blanco struggles with over the past 59 at-bats over left-handed batters? Yeah, he can't get any of those lefties out. You know who has a lot of left-handed batters? It's the Boston Red Sox. Yesterday, I told you, I thought that game would be able to sneak over the total because sometimes in a hitter's ballpark, you just have to ride with the batters as opposed to the pitchers. I'm going to do the same thing tonight. I'm going to say I'm not trusting Pavetta's 3.14 dominant xFIP number. I'm going to trust a little bit more of those last 60 days of having that ERA of close to 5 with a good hitting lineup in order. Let's go over tonight in this game between Boston and Houston.
Over 8.5. Jeremy Pena has been great offensively. Alex Bregman has been great offensively. It has been sparking this Astros run. At the end of June, the Seattle Mariners had a 3-game lead in the American League West. Now, nearly 2 months later, it's the Astros up by 5 games. Speaking of Seattle, they are just 12-16 since the All-Star break. And they're an underdog once again tonight in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. LA nearly $1.50 favorite. Walker Buehler makes his second start since his return in the middle of June after his return of nearly 2 years away from MLB. 8.5 the total tonight, late night at the Ravine. What do you like?
Each day is supposed to be an individual handicap, but sometimes you just find yourself looking at this game going, all right, Walker Buehler's coming back to the mound once again, only 18 batters that he's faced over the past 30 days, and he's probably still finding his way. So 5 innings and 4 earned runs is probably what you're going to get. And then you say to yourself, oh, well, who's going to score those 4 runs for the Seattle Mariners at this point, just watching them go? You look at the lineup. The numbers actually make sense to take the Mariners tonight. The better pitcher on the mound is actually going to be with the Mariners and Bryce Miller. An ERA of under 3 and an xFIP number of 3.67 over the past 60 days. They should win this baseball game. But I'm saying to you, as a handicapper and a gambler, I don't know if I can back the Mariners right now because sometimes you look and say, Donnie, just trust the numbers, which should tell me Robles, Arozarena, Raleigh, Polanco, Raleigh, Turner, and Rojas are all positive batters tonight going up against a struggling pitcher. And I can't tell you that I actually believe that at this point. So this is one I'm just sitting out to watch it. Because if I wake up tomorrow and it's 5-1 Mariners, you know what? That's what made sense. But when I wake up tomorrow and it's 3-1 Dodgers, I'm like, yeah, exactly. The Mariners just can't hit.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. These are the games for the Dodgers that they have to keep winning to keep pace. You also want to see that postseason staff potentially start to take shape. Is Walker Buehler going to be in the bullpen for October and beyond for Dave Roberts, or could he be a Game 3 starter, something of the sort? He wasn't bad in his return since the middle of June in nearly 2 months. It's been a shaky season, though, overall for Buehler. The Mariners, they've lost 6 of their last 7, 7-9 in August. The Dodgers have won 7 of their last 10, just trying to hold on to a 3-game lead in the National League West. The Dodgers have won the division 10 of the last 11 years. They entered this year as that super team in the major leagues as a minus 650 favorite to win the NL West. And they're still minus 700. But it's just a 3-game lead over the surging San Diego Padres, who won the opener yesterday in Southern California 5-3 over the Twins. Jackson Merrill delivers once again. Michael King picks up another victory, and Robert Suarez gets his 28th save of the year. San Diego, a slight, and I mean very slight, home underdog today against the Twins. It's a virtual pick'em, minus 112 for Minnesota, minus 104 other side for San Diego. Total 7.5. What's the play here in San Diego?
I think we say under the total. Martin Perez hasn't been bad last 30 days, 97 batters that he's faced, a 149 ISO against and a weighted on base percentage of 258. That should be manageable and be able to hold down that Minnesota Twins offense. Bailey Ober on the opposite side, maybe a name that you're not all that familiar with, but on the card today out of 24 pitchers, Ben, he's number 4 with an xFIP number of 3.47. And if you're the ERA guy out there, it's a 1.92 over the past 60 days. How does that equate to his last 30 days and 129 batters he's faced? How about an 0.68 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 194. The Padres lineup looks great. It's been crushing right-handed pitching, but you are in a true pitcher's ballpark against pitchers that make sense against these lineups. I don't know if we get 8 runs tonight. Give me the under in a coin flip game.
The Twins, a very slight favorite. The Royals, a huge home favorite against the Angels. They were victorious yesterday. Cole Reagan's nearly a $2 favorite against the Halos. The Guardians, an underdog in the Bronx. They have a 2.5-game lead over both Minnesota and KC at this moment. Could be less than that come a Wednesday morning. Let's finish out with the game at Citi Field. The Mets walk it off yesterday courtesy of a solo shot from Francisco Alvarez in the bottom of the ninth. They are a home favorite once again against the O's, who are just 15-15 since the All-Star break. A quick pick here, DRS, before you go.
Yeah, let's go Mets in this one again. Dean Kramer struggling over the past 60 days with his xFIP numbers here, similar to what we saw last night. I think maybe the slightly better pitcher on the mound for the Mets, and they're home. I think the Mets pick up another victory here.
Jose Quintana gets the start today for the Amazons. They only trail Atlanta by a game and a half. DRS, we'll talk tomorrow. The early line continues up next here on SportsGrid.